Good afternoon, South Africa and Zimbabwe. Welcome to Global Education Study Abroad Virtual Expo. We're in our final week, and as I say that, we're actually moving some extra webinars to next week on Tuesday, so please do tune in for that. Today, we've got our premium partner. It's one of our long-lasting relationships, and we're very excited. They're a Russell Group University as well. They're called the University of Exeter. I know you probably are aware of them as well in South Africa and Zimbabwe. But a lot of you are new to this webinar format. It's a roundtable discussion with the presentation that we do. And Global Education is a small family business, and we look after your entire process, and we get that anxiety all the way down. So don't stress when it comes to applying abroad. That's what we're here to help you and make sure you've got the right information before you even make your decision. And today with University of Exeter, it's a little bit different. We've got a sports field to it. We've got a scholarship field to it. We've got some important information that's going to be shared to you. We've got two people joining and presenting for us today. We've got Taylor Wern, who works with us, and he is our direct manager who looks after all the international engagement with us. He's brilliant. He's on a call-to-call basis with us. He'll get involved with you. He'll pick you up from the airport, take you to your room. You name it. He does it all. I don't know where he finds the time to look after himself, but Taylor's brilliant, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy his presentation. We've also got Matt Shepherd, who's the International Recruitment Manager. I hope I said his title right. I think I just messed it up. He's going to give you that sports information. We do have a huge inquiry level of sports from South Africa and Zimbabwe to rugby or athletics or cricket into the UK. So this is probably one of the best places to get that right information. On that note, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to put my share screen off and let Taylor set up for his. And I'm going to leave it to the two of you to carry on. And please, everybody listening in, this webinar is recorded. Please put your questions in the chat box or the Q&A, and we'll get to those questions at the end of the presentation.
Excellent. Thanks very much, George. First of all, can you see the correct slide screen? Can you see just the one big slide?
No. No. Do you want to share the other screen?
Yes. Here we go. Let me see. What about that?
Yeah, and then that right button on the bottom right there, it should open it.
Okay, bear with me. You think you'd be used to this after 2 years. Here we go. Let's hope that this works. I think it will.
There we go.
Excellent. Cool. Well, yeah, thanks, George. Thanks very much, Global Education, for having myself and Matt along today. From the University of Exeter. So we're delighted to join. Always happy to speak, to students from Zimbabwe and South Africa. So it's a great pleasure for us to be here. I can't see other than my slides off the screen, but if you've got any questions throughout, put them in the chat. I'm hoping to answer most of your questions from a sort of general university perspective. What do you need to think about? What are the key things that you need to consider if you're thinking about studying in the UK, and obviously in particular at Exeter. So I'm Taylor. I'm the regional manager covering sub-Saharan Africa, so South Africa and Zimbabwe included, of course, in that. And Matt, I don't know if you just want to introduce yourself briefly as well, just so people know who we are before we kick off.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Matt. I'm the recruitment and engagement manager within sport. So my job basically encompasses supporting prospective students to find out more about our sport programs, and then those who compete at a higher level in our performance sports and international level, I support in attaining a place within the uni and within our performance programs.
Excellent, cool, and yeah, ideal. Thanks very much, Matt, for joining as well. It's really handy to have you on, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about the sport as well. Let's have a look at Exeter in general. For those of you that are joining who maybe have heard of Exeter, you've got a mate who's gone there or family member, whatever, but you don't know everything about it. So by the end of this, hoping that you'll know a bit more about Exeter. And so I've got some general pointers here for you, really. One, George mentioned at the beginning, we're a member of the UK's Russell Group, and this really means that we're in a group of 24 leading research intensive universities in the UK. It's a real mark of quality in terms of teaching and research. The two, of course, are interlinked and directly relevant to your study as an undergraduate. You'll be learning from world leading researchers in their field in a range of subjects. There's not just one particular subject where that's true. The vast majority of our researchers, our academics, the people you'll be learning from are engaged in world leading research. And that's Testament to our quality as a Russell Group member. You'll see here, we've got a little stat there, 27,000 students from over 150 countries. In fact, I'm guilty here of not updating this in the last week or so, but we've now actually got over 30,000 students from over 150 different countries. And we'll look a bit later about numbers from your own country. I won't read through all of these, don't worry, but a couple of important ones there as well. When you're considering universities, of course, consider the quality and the content of the course, that specific ranking for that course. But more broadly speaking, in the last 10 years, we've been consistently in the top 20 in the UK rankings, and in the world rankings, very importantly, we're in the top 150 in both the Times Higher Education and the QS World University Rankings for 2022. For those of you who've got no idea where we are, we're in the southwest of England, in the UK. I'm from London on the train to Exeter. Well, the quickest one is 2 hours and 3 minutes. That's my favorite one. But on average, around 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes, something like that on the train to Exeter. And that will get you to Exeter, to our two campuses there, the Stratum Campus and the St. Luke's Campus. And we'll talk about another campus we have, the Penryn Campus, an amazing campus that we have. And we'll talk about that as well. So just quickly, I'll show you this video. Gives you a little visual about the campus. This is the Stratum Campus, the largest campus that we have here in Exeter. As you can see there, the business school, it's home to the business school. Lots of accommodation on the campus as well. But this really gives you an idea as to, what does it look like to be at Exeter? Very open, very green, very safe city. Yeah, naturally stunning environment to study at as well as, and our St. Luke's campus there. So let's have a little bit of a closer look at that. The Stratum Campus was the first one that you could see on that video, and much of the footage was from the Stratum Campus. Now, this campus is by far our largest campus, okay? It's where I'm based, it's where Matt is right now, sat on the Stratum Campus, lucky lad. And it's home to the vast majority of our subjects, okay? So every subject you can imagine we offer is likely to be at this campus. Everything from the business school subjects, law, psychology, the big programs, and then some other programs, Arab and Islamic studies, all of those subjects that we have listed on our web pages. Most of them are going to be offered here at Stratum Campus. It's really the hub of the university. As I keep saying, it's a campus, so everything is in one place, and about a 15 to 20 minute walk away is the city centre of Exeter. So everything in Exeter is in walking distance. Unlike a number of campus universities in the UK, which might be based a few miles away from the city itself, Exeter is very close. The campus is very close to the city centre. About a 20-25 minute walk from the Stratum Campus is our St. Luke's Campus. Here we've got about 5,000 or 6,000 students on the Stratum Campus. We've got about 19,000 students. And everyone on this campus is studying either in the medical school, so medicine, neuroscience, medical imaging, nursing, those kinds of programs in the medical school, but also all of our sports and health scientists, so exercise and sports science and nutrition, those kinds of programs are all delivered at the St. Luke's Campus. And in between the two campuses is the city centre of Exeter, okay? So again, everything in walking distance, and again, as you can see there, a nice environment to study in. Hang on, let me turn that down, but a very quick sort of view of the Pembroke Campus here in Cornwall. So again, it's about 100 miles southwest of Exeter. Nonetheless, this is just like Streatham and St. Luke's in that it is one of the university's campuses. We've got about 6,000, 5,000 students studying here, a range of different subjects, which I'll go on to in a moment, but just wanted to give you again a visual of this campus to see what it's like. It's in, I think, one of the nicest parts of England in the UK, on the southwest, on the south coast, and the natural environment again is outstanding down there, as you can see from these pictures. What you'll notice actually is a lot of, again, greenery. I mean, this is thematic on the campus. Okay, so there's a real focus on the Penryn campus for a lot of the programs to have a focus on sustainability, the environment, the green agenda. Much of the research at Penryn is tackling the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So you can study some programs at Penryn that you can also study at Streatham: business, history, English, those kinds of programs. But you'll find that, for example, some of the business modules that we offer at Penryn are different to the modules we offer in business and management at the Stratum Campus. They'll focus on, as I said, the environment. So have a look at that if you're considering a program. Which campus would be better for me in terms of student life, in terms of the course content? You know, what modules are offered? Do look at that as well. Happy to take any questions at the end. Look, just very quickly, as a rattle through a bit of history about Exeter. But 10 years ago, we joined the Russell Group. So an established member of the Russell Group. Sort of 7 years ago, we were ranked in the World Top 100 for the first time. And sort of 5 years ago, we were, one of a handful of Russell Group universities to receive a gold standard award for the quality of our teaching. I think there were 8 or 9 Russell Group universities who received the gold standard award. So that's something we're very proud of. So it's not just quality in research, but also quality in teaching. And you can see here some of our key research strengths. I won't labour too much on this point, but I'm trying to let you know that research is absolutely pivotal to teaching as well. So, and learning, therefore. So anything you'll be learning is often from, as I said at the beginning, a world-leading researcher in one of these areas. We're particularly strong in climate and environment research. And Exeter is home to the UK's 5 leading climate change researchers. So yeah, the only researchers in the top 20 from the UK, all academics at Exeter, and indeed the Met Office, which is headquartered in Exeter. Conscious of time, I'm not going to show you this exciting video, but just imagine how good it is. There's lots of really useful videos on our webpage, but I'm keen to talk a bit more about the courses, about scholarships, etc. So we'll crack on from there, and we'll follow up. And again, on Global Education's webpage, you'll find all the information you need and videos, etc. What's the university structured like? What do we offer? Well, what I haven't done is list all of the programs we offer. There are over 400 programs that we offer in 40 different discipline areas. And those disciplines are really broken down into what we call 6 academic colleges. Don't worry about this too much. This is largely an administrative, breakup. So any student will be, on a campus. It's not like if you're studying in the business school, you're just at the business school living with business school students. Everyone's mixed in. But these are the sort of broad subject areas. You've got a business school, accounting, business and management, economics, those kinds of programs. Social sciences and international studies involves programs like law, for example, and which I know is very popular in both South Africa and Zimbabwe. Maths, engineering, physical sciences, everything you can imagine. This is where the subjects are all housed, if you will. It's a central admissions process. So you apply to the university through UCAS and again through Global Education, who are going to support you through that, as well as myself and Matt, of course. And then, it goes to a central admissions team, and it goes from there. You don't need to apply specifically to the business school. You don't need to apply specifically to the College of Engineering, Maths, Physical Sciences. But this is to give you an idea of how we're broken up in terms of our subjects. We're very proud at Exeter, sort of in many ways punching above our weight. For the size of a city like Exeter, about 135,000 people, nearly 7,000 students on our campus are international students, which is, amazing. That's something we're very proud of. And of course, along with that, a huge number of societies to get involved in, both academic societies and cultural and sort of international societies, of course, as well. Over 180 of those, including sort of clubs and societies. Lots for you to get involved in. This is true of every university, really, in many ways. One of the huge benefits of studying at a university in the UK in particular is the range of things that you can get involved in from the first day, if not before. Certainly if you're in a sport club, often those things start sort of before the term with pre-season and stuff. So plenty of opportunities and exciting things to get stuck into at Exeter. Being close to the coast, Exeter also offers a number of sort of, water sports, water sort of sports societies, kite surfing, windsurfing, surfing, etc. So get involved. It's something, just from a personal point of view, I think can't be recommended highly enough, really. It adds so much value to your experience as a student at university. I'm not going to dwell too much on sport because our expert on sports is joining us today. This is just a flag that Exeter is currently the #1 sports university in the south of England and Wales. We've previously been Sports University of the Year, and there's lots of ongoing investment into sport. We take it very seriously at Exeter, and there's lots on offer, which my colleague Matt will talk about. So I don't want to take up too much of his time. So I'm going to crack on. What you really want to be thinking about when you're thinking about studying overseas is, what value will a degree from Exeter add to me? What value will it add to me, both personally, and then of course academically and professionally? How will it stand me in good stead for the future? That's something that's central to our mission, certainly for international students in particular, is to give ongoing support to you when you're with us. And that's in the form of career support, which starts again from day one at the university. Everything from sort of, CV writing workshops, application workshops, extending opportunities to work and study abroad as part of your degree, either for a whole year or maybe just a term. Lots of opportunities to get involved in that kind of stuff. And this career support doesn't end when you graduate. Exeter have a commitment for lifetime career support. So any alumni, anyone who graduates from Exeter, has access to our careers zone and careers teams for the rest of their life, should they want to use it, which is something I think is outstanding. Lots of international students will take the option, of course, not just international students, any student will take the option to work. And as an international student, you can do that. You can get some part-time work, depending on your visa requirements, around 15 hours per week of part-time work, just to subsidize your studies and help you as you go. Twice a year, we're going to have big careers fairs on the campus with major employers coming to Exeter. Again, big employers are attracted to Russell Group graduates in particular. And so this is very attractive as a student for you to know that you'll be able to network and make connections with large employers, big blue chip firms. If you're in business school, for example, these are just a handful of some of the hundreds of employers that will be visiting the campus on the careers fairs throughout the year. And what a lot of students will do is take the option either to study abroad as part of their degree. That will add one more year to your degree, or indeed to sort of work abroad as part of your degree as well. We're partnered with over 200 universities across the globe. And again, I've got a selection of them here. Not, this is a vast minority of them actually, but it gives you an idea of the spread of whereabouts in the world do Exeter have connections with. So if you're studying on a program that offers a study abroad option, many of our programs do, the majority will offer a study abroad option or indeed a year in industry. This is the sort of area of the world that you might think about studying in. Loads in Europe, loads further afield. Full list of those on our website. So if you type in study abroad Exeter on our website, it will give you a list of exactly which universities and which countries you may choose to go to as part of your degree, should that be an option. Okay, accommodation in Exeter. So you can see some nice pictures here actually from our campus, from the accommodation block. So there's a range of different options at Exeter for accommodation. And something you should definitely know about is that as an international student joining as an undergraduate, you'd be guaranteed university owned and managed accommodation, so long as you apply by the deadline, right? The deadline is usually the end of July in the year that you're going to come to Exeter and study. What can I say about accommodation? Well, either you can have self-catered accommodation. So anyone who's an epic chef might fancy that. Or indeed, if you're a horrendous cook, you might want to start to learn when you're at university. Why not? Or if you're terrified of that idea, you can get catered accommodation where all your meals are included and provided for you. Yeah, lots of options to think about. And obviously, they range in price. The absolute cheapest accommodation at Exeter is around £4,000 for the year, and the absolute most expensive one would be about £9,000, £9,500, depending on what you're looking for. Virtual tours of all of our accommodation blocks are on our website. Just type in University of Exeter virtual accommodation tour. It will be there. Those are the key things. I mean, again, some more pictures here of some of the newer accommodation blocks we have on the campus. This is just a flag types of things, types of accommodation you could live in as a student. And these are sort of mid to upper range accommodation blocks. East Park, Stratum Way, Mowbray. It's very much a similar story for those of you that might consider studying at our Penryn campus in Cornwall. The accommodation guarantee still exists. It's still there. We have some accommodation on the campus in Penryn. It's called Glasney Village. which is what you can see here, top left picture and the bottom left. And on the right as well is the slidings, it's called, and that's an accommodation block, a short walk away. In the second and third year, guys, you know, you would move into the town nearby, or if you're an Exeter, into the city centre for private accommodation. But again, lots of options at all of our campuses for accommodation. Very quickly on scholarships, and Matt, I'll be handing over soon. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk for too much longer. Quickly on scholarships. The key one, I would imagine most of you that are listening today are looking to study an undergraduate degree with Exeter. And so the key one is this top one that I want to flag with you. It's called the Global Excellence Scholarship. We haven't launched our scholarships for September 2023 entry yet, but you can imagine that'd be very similar setup to what we've got this year. Now, the Global Excellence Scholarships are merit-based. That means they depend on the quality of your grades. And usually we look for the equivalent of AA, B at A level. Of course, we don't just accept A levels. I'm going to talk about other qualifications in a moment. But they are dependent on which grades you are predicted to achieve or indeed have achieved. And there will be a range of either £5,000, £10,000 or full tuition fee discounts from the first year of study only. Now, clearly, the higher the grades that you're predicted or have achieved, the better the chance you have of that full tuition fee scholarship from year one. There's over £2.5 million this year in the pot for that scholarship. So it's not like we have a few of these to give away. There are loads of the 5,000 ones. There's a really good number of 10,000 ones, and there are fewer, but there are still a good number of the full tuition fee scholarships. You have to make a separate application for this. If you're listening now and you've got an offer to study with us for September this year, the deadline for applications to this scholarship is the 22nd of April, and you must be holding an offer. If you're not looking to study this year, but instead you're thinking about next year, don't worry too much about this. Information will change and dates will change, but it's to let you know, universities have pots of money available for international students, and you should be applying for that. We want to help you as much as we can. Let's have a look at the sort of average fee. I mean, all of our sort of business school fees, our business school fees start from sort of £18,800. It's likely to go up next year with inflation, of course, you know, a little bit. But really, most of our fees are between sort of £19,000 to £25,000. It sort of depends on what you're studying for how long. I mean, medicine is the clear anomaly here, which is much more expensive at £37,000 a year. Again, that will go up for next year. And medicine, of course, being the 5-year program, and no scholarships available for that one, unfortunately. This is just to give you an idea. For accurate and up-to-date fees, you know, always check the program website for your particular course. Talked about A levels. I mean, anywhere between 3 Bs at A level to A star AA, or 30 points on the IB to 38 points on the IB. I realize not many of you will be studying A levels or IB, which is fine. So I've tried to break this down in a bit more of a sensible way. On the left, you can see if you're doing the NSC in South Africa, a typical entry offer is going to be around 77666, 2 7s, 3 6s on the NSC. Okay. And we've got a South Africa entry requirements page, which we can share with you, which breaks down how that works. Yeah, also, if you're doing ZimSec, it's identical to A levels, and I've got the master's entry requirements set. But this gives you an idea. Most of our courses are 3 A's to 2 A's and a B at A level. If and when we make you offers, we will always try to apply maximum flexibility, okay? And if you miss out by a grade or 2, depending on the course you apply to, the admissions team won't throw your application in the bin, okay? They'll always do their best to try and enroll you on the grades that you've got, and try to apply flexibility. English language requirements are on our webpage, so do look at that. You know, IELTS typically 6.5 overall. If you've got IB or A-level English, then you don't need an English language test, provided it's taken within the right date range. Okay. Just to finish off my bit, I've got a couple more points about Exeter there, which I've talked about a lot of them, but these are some of the key USPs really for Exeter. I would say, you know, outside of our general rankings, please also check the rankings for your particular subject. Many of our subjects are in the top 50 in the world. If you look at sport-related subjects, you know, they're in the top 15 in the world rankings. So, you know, let that help you make your decision. It's not the only thing. You know, we encourage you to try and visit the campus if you can. You'll be living here for 3 years. You want to know what it's like, right? So yeah, these are just a few of the key pointers. Rough student numbers, we've got around 25 to 30 students from Zimbabwe at the minute, around 70 to 80 students from South Africa, part of nearly 7,000 international students and over 30,000 students in total. Again, very proud of that, very happy about that as well. If you want to know more about open days and tours, there's the QR code. Come and say hello, come and meet me and Matt's, and we'll show you around very happily. I've got my contact email address there, but of course, you can reach out to Global Education, who put in touch with me directly, which I would encourage you all to do. Now, I've talked, Matt, sorry, a bit longer than I'd planned probably, but over to you, and we're going to still have time at the end for questions and a little roundtable discussion as well. So yeah, over to you, Matt. I'll hand over. Thanks for your patience.
Amazing. Thank you, Taylor. Just to confirm, can you see my screen, my presentation?
Yes,
Amazing.
we can, yeah.
Amazing. So just to quickly reintroduce myself, I'm Matt. I'm the Recruitment Engagement Manager in Sport. So I work all the time up in our sports park, up in our Stratum Campus, but we have a sport facility both on our St Luke's campus, on our Stratum Campus, and across the city of Exeter as well. But that's where you'll find me. What I wanted to do today was give you a nice understanding from a very generic point of view for sport. So what do we offer across the whole range of sport in Exeter, and then specifically focus on performance sport with a key idea on actually looking at our rugby and our hockey programs, as we are #1 in the country for rugby, and at the moment we're #2 in the country for hockey. So on those two sports, we're probably one of the best institutions you can go to, if not the best. What I will speak today about is mainly around sport in Exeter. So as Taylor covered really well, that we have facilities and a campus down in Penryn, which is in Cornwall. Sport in Cornwall is delivered separately to what's delivered in Exeter. We have a separate students' union that oversees sport down there. So everything I speak about today will be about what's delivered in Exeter, so on both our Stratham and our St Luke's campus. So it's just worth keeping that in mind. So firstly, note, we've invested over £30 million in facilities and services to ensure that we offer one of the best student sport experiences in the UK. We have a huge student sport programme, starting with our I Am Sport programme, which is Intramural Sport. So Intramural Sport is recreational, it's fun, it's easy, it's social sport. You do it with your friends, people on your course, people from another society. It could be an event, it could be a weekly league. And this covers really social, easy level entry sport that if you don't want to be competitive but you still want to have a regular touch point, you can involve in our I Am Sport programme. We then have a BUCS Sport programme. BUCS is British Universities Colleges Sport, which is the national governing body for sport in the UK. We have 51 sports clubs that compete in BUCS Sport every year, which is fantastic. And I'll go into slight detail about that. But the main point of focus today was our performance sport programme, which covers kind of our top teams in 8 of our sports. We have a large health and fitness facility and offering. So we have a 200-station state-of-the-art gym up on our Stratham campus, and we also have another fitness centre over on our St Luke's campus as well. Any gym membership you buy with us gets access to 2 gym facilities, which is fantastic. We also offer lots of CPD opportunities. So if you come to us and actually part of your degree, you want to be able to enhance your CV, we have lots of casual jobs, we have lots of part-time jobs up in our facilities, but also our clubs offer lots of opportunity that if you come with a specific interest area in coaching or refereeing or officiating, we often support our students into attaining qualifications. So we try to enhance your CV through sport whilst you're with us. But a nice couple of current stats. We have 51 sports clubs, over 8,000 students in just Exeter who engage with us over both Penryn and Exeter. Number of memberships we've sold are closing in on 14,000. So that's nearly 50% of the sporting population of our university engaged with sport. In BUCS at the moment, we're actually currently 4th out of over 160 universities. So we sit in the top 5. Which is amazing. So we're one of the best sporting institutions in the UK to come to. And as Taylor said, we're #1 in the south of England and Wales, making us one of the best unis. And we've also been Mental Health in Sport Trainers of the Year. We've put lots of focus on ensuring your mental health and mental well-being is on par with your physical well-being as well. It's one big thing that we love to push and promote at the university here. To give you an overview of BUCS, so like I said, University College of Sport, this is the institution that runs national university sport in the UK. So as I said, we're currently fourth, but rugby we're number one, golf we're number one, netball we're number one, hockey we're number two. There's a number of other sports that we sit number one in at the moment, or top five, which is amazing. The stats you see on the right in the middle, you've got two different dates. We are nearly at the end of the 21-22 sporting season, and we've had 20 league winning teams, which is amazing. We have over 110 different teams that compete each week. But our individuals have not yet finished. So we have a number of events that run throughout the year where we win individual medals, and those haven't finished yet. So I don't have a stat on that thus far. But in 2018-19, which seems a lifetime ago, was our last full season, we won 35 individual medals. So not only are we really good at winning in teams, we're also really good at winning as individuals and supporting our individuals. BUCS is broken down into two types of competition. So you have sports that compete weekly in leagues and then go into knockout competitions and cup fixtures. And we also have sports that compete in individuals or event-based competition, which is more maybe once a term, once a year kind of competition. So I've tried to give you, aside from the worldwide known sports of football, rugby, hockey, etc., I've tried to give you a couple of other sports that you might not realise compete weekly for us. So we have a dodgeball club, fencing compete weekly, korfball, which is like a mixture of basketball and netball, table tennis and ultimate frisbee are some clubs that compete week in, week out for us. And then we have clubs that compete in events, so those that might compete once a term or once a month. In boxing, canoe kayaking doing big adventures and trips around the world. They also compete in pool, which is fantastic. And then we have snooker and pool, surfing and trampoline. So there's a real variety of different sports that you can get involved with. Like I said, I'm going to focus now on performance sport, but what I always love to note is if you do more than one sport, you can continue to do more than one sport with us. Every one of our clubs offers everything from the elite end of I'm an international athlete competing at the highest level, all the way through to I just want to be a social member. So if you want to, focus on being a rugby player, but on the side you actually want to do another sport, say like cricket, you can play cricket socially or in one of our BUCS teams as well. So it's always worth noting that if you have more than one sport that you play, you can quite comfortably do those two whilst you're with us. Our performance sport program. So our performance sport program covers 8 of our performance sports, and within these sports it covers the first and or second and third teams. So for example, we have our 8 sports there in front: cricket, golf, women's lacrosse, hockey, netball, rugby, sailing and tennis. So for example, our performance program for rugby, and men's rugby specifically, covers the top 3 teams. It covers 100 athletes in that program. The club is about 350, 400 people strong, so it's a massive club, but it covers those top 3. Whereas for cricket, it might cover, say, the top 10 athletes, or golf, it will cover the top 10 athletes. So it can really range. But these sports, they get access to a wide range of support services that ensure your development whilst you're with us. So being part of a performance program is a step up. So in a BUCS sport, say you're in maybe like our hockey 5th team, you'll have 2 training sessions a week, and that'll be your program. Whereas within our performance sport, we have a range of services that you access to ensure your continued development. So these are the services you see in front. So we have the strength and conditioning service, which is delivered in our athlete development centre. So this is delivered on the Stratum Campus in our sports park, and we have a large gym facility solely for our performance athletes, and you'll have access to that up to 4 times a week, depending on what sport you're in. All of your strength and conditioning is written by a full-time strength and conditioning coach, and that'll be an individual program to you. We then offer physiotherapy with Ocean Physio. They have a clinic within our sports park on Stratham, and you're able to access a free triage every week and then access reduced cost 60-minute sessions as well. So we try to offer as much physical support to your program as best we can. We also offer lifestyle support. So lifestyle support focuses around nutrition and psychology mainly, but there's also other things we do in there. Like I previously said, we put a lot of focus in sport on continued professional development, so enhancing your CV. So through lifestyle support, we'll also offer workshops on employability skills, looking at those transferable skills that you learn out in competition. So communication, organisation, and transferring that into your CV to make you a more employable person, that if you go and do something with a career zone, like Taylor mentioned, we're really beefing out your CV and making you an extremely employable person when you graduate from us. We also do performance analysis. So performance analysis, we have a dedicated suite where we have iPads, laptops, MacBooks, everything in that we need. And then all of our matches for those top teams are all recorded. So they're recorded from multiple angles. And then we have a full-time lead analysis and a team of interns who code all of your clips. And then you get clips every week from training and matches looking at breaking down your play. So for hockey, it could be a certain wave of play starting from a flick. And we break it down, and then you're really able to get into the nitty-gritty of your coaching for your sport. We then include performance coaching and facility access. So anybody in a performance program will have at least 2 2-hour training sessions a week. You'll have a team run, which is usually a 20-30 minute session on a Tuesday, as all Bucks matches are on a Wednesday. And what's worth noting with our performance programs, they all compete on a Wednesday, and then they will compete on a weekend in a national league as well. So you'll have all of your access, and then what we do on top of this is give you free off-peak gym access to both of our university campus gyms. So there's a very large, very large program there to support our next best athletes coming to our programs, to ensure that if you come to us and you want to become the next best hockey player, netballer, we make sure that you have the facilities and services to achieve that. All of our programs have pre-season. So for example, men's rugby pre-season, which I'll talk about in a minute, starts in mid-July, and we get you here as soon as you can, and you basically get to spend 2 months before the academic year starts playing rugby, being part of the rugby club, settling in, going through pre-season, fitness training, and then when the season starts, you are already settled into your team, ready to play. So we have full performance programs that come through. We support our students by offering bodyweight programs, gym programs that you do over summer before you arrive, to make sure that you arrive to pre-season fully fit. But to start thinking about those 2 programs specifically, what I'm going to do is go over our hockey program, which covers men's and women's. And then I'm going to cover our men's rugby program and our women's rugby program, so you can get a real understanding of specifically in our top 2 programs or top 2 sports, what we offer, how we offer it, when we offer it. So across our women's and men's hockey club, they have 6 men's and 6 women's teams. So in total, we have 12 hockey teams that play every week for us, and they play both on a Wednesday and both on a Saturday. So currently, our top 2 teams access the performance program. So from the men's side of the club, the top 2 teams, so men's 1s and men's 2s, then the women's 1s and the women's 2s are our performance program. So they get access to all of those services that I just mentioned. Our first teams on a Wednesday in Bucks compete in the National Premier Division. Our men's team finished 3rd, and our women's team finished about mid-table, going into the knockouts, which into the championships. And then on the weekend, our men's team are currently in the National Prem Division, so the highest level you can play in the UK. And then our women's are in the Div 1 South, which is the 2nd highest. So both of our hockey teams offer 2 of the highest levels of hockey twice a week. So if you're looking to play extremely competitive hockey and really advance your hockey career, coming to us gives you the platform to be able to play some of the best divisions of hockey you can find in the world. As I said, you get 2 pitch sessions a week. So our hockey teams train on a Monday and a Thursday. Your Monday session is very much focused and geared towards your Bucks match, so against another university. And then your Thursday session is very much geared towards your National League weekend match. So there's very specific sessions that are delivered. And then once a week or once a fortnight, you'll get a 1-to-1 or small group training session. So for example, if you are a goalkeeper, you'll have specific goalkeeper training. If you are a defender, you'll have specific small group defender training. So there's lots of training access for you. On site, we have an international standard hockey pitch, and then we also have a hybrid hockey pitch as well. So we have some international standard facilities, again, that match all of those services that we offer. I've obviously detailed that support structure, but what's great for our support structure is we have a head of hockey. So Harry Jones is our head of hockey. He oversees the whole of hockey. We then have a head of women's hockey, Matt Way, who oversees specifically the women's program and the women's pathway. And then we also have a number of paid coaches who sit below that. So we have a fully full-time, more or less, women's 2s and men's 2s coach And then we also have assistant coaches for our first teams as well. So the package around all of our teams is extremely large. And then on top of that, like I said, we have a lead performance analyst who oversees all of the analysis for all of our hockey matches. So all of your training, all of your matches will be recorded. For hockey, they're recorded from 3 angles. So on our pitch at home, we have a pavilion, which is filmed from the side, and then we have a camera about 10 feet above the goal, and then we have another GoPro behind the goal. So you can see everything that happens from every angle, which is fantastic. So that gives you hopefully a nice understanding of what our hockey program offers. Discuss our men's rugby program. Historically, Exeter is one of the best rugby institutions for the past decade. I think for the past 8 years, we've not finished outside of #1 ranking for rugby. So we offer a very clear pathway for both men's and women's into the professional game, which is fantastic. We have 10 teams that compete weekly for our men's rugby club, including our first team who compete in Bucks Super Rugby. So Bucks Super Rugby has been recently classified as the same level of championship level rugby in the UK. So in the whole of the UK, Bucks Super Rugby is the second highest standard you can play after the Premiership and the Gallagher Premiership, which is fantastic. So we offer one of the best rugby levels you can get. Like I said, top 100 athletes access our performance program. So depending where you sit in that program, you'll get a certain level of strength and conditioning, physio. The higher up that pathway, some of those services will be subsidized. So if you join the performance program, you pay a one-off fee at the start of the year, which is £150. Now, £150 for 3 S&C sessions a week, physio, lifestyle support, coaching, facility access, a gym membership is actually really cheap. What we try to do is make our program as accessible as possible. Not only is it accessible geographically, it's also accessible financially. The higher up that pathway for men's rugby you sit, you might pay less, or you might not pay for any service at all. Depends where you sit. A couple of our teams compete in the National League on a weekend. All of our teams compete on a weekend, but our men's first team also compete in the National Div 1 South, which we're currently top of and hopefully about to get promoted. So hopefully we'll go up to, I believe, the 3rd tier or 4th tier division in the UK for rugby, again, which is an extremely high semi-pro / professional level. Again, we offer, like I said, full pre-season for rugby. So this year, our rugby pre-season starting around the 20th of July. So if you're looking at coming this year and you're not yet kind of on our radar, on our website, we have a performance interest form. Complete that and we'll make sure you get details about pre-season. We're partnered with Exeter Chiefs, so we're an official academy pathway for Exeter Chiefs, who have historically in the last few years of English rugby been a dominant force. National and European champions last year. So there's lots of offer of being able to access Premiership level rugby. So this pathway means that we have probably about 10 full-time pro contracted rugby players with us at the moment who are Chiefs players, which is amazing. And then we also offer a lot of international Premiership pathway support. So we actually have athletes. We've just had somebody signed for Munster, and we have somebody who is currently a player at Harlequins. So we don't just support people who go to Chiefs, we support athletes who compete for any Premiership level club. One big part of our rugby program, which is extremely important considering the level of contact that's involved with rugby, we do cognitive testing and provide medical support every year. So when you join our club, we'll do a cognitive test to make sure we have a base layer, as concussion is something regular in rugby. And then we follow appropriate cognitive testing protocols and processes. The head of medical services at Exeter Chiefs is also our medical professional, who's also the head of the A&E at the hospital in Exeter. So if we need to get you seen quickly by professional, we're able to do that. That's something that not can be offered at every university club. The club has a massive coaching network, a huge coaching network. So we have a director of rugby in Keith Fleming, and we have an assistant coach in Rich Hodges. They are both full-time coaches for our club. And then we have lots of Exeter Chiefs players and coaches who come in and support the development of our club. So, for example, Hayden Thomas, who's head of the academy and one of the first team coaches at Chiefs, also comes over and coaches. Tony Yap, who is head coach of Taunton Titans, which is a championship or National League One club, he also coaches, who's a former England player. So we have a very large breadth of professional standard and elite standard coaches and players who come in and coach our club. And that it extends all the way down to our 9th team that play on a Wednesday. They get the best coaching. Again, performance analysis is delivered. It's worth noting that physio, S&C and analysis is all delivered by Exeter Chiefs. So any service you access as part of the performance programme for rugby, that is delivered by Exeter Chiefs. So you're getting the Premiership standard services to support your development. To discuss our women's rugby programme, again, we are one of the #1 rugby universities for women's rugby in the UK. We have 2 teams that compete weekly in Bucks, and we're hoping to get a development team input next year. And we're also hoping to partner with Chiefs to have a women's rugby team going to the National League to form as part of a feeder team into the Women's Chiefs programme that play in the Tyrrell Premiership. Our first team have just been promoted back into the National Prem division, so from next year they'll be playing the highest level of Bucks University rugby possible. They don't have a trial system. If you wish to come and play women's rugby competitively, you'll be selected into a team, which is fantastic. The general standard of our women's first team, you need to have played regional level competitive rugby to be able to get into that first team. But again, we have a lot of international Premiership pathway support for our women's rugby players. We have a number of women's Chiefs rugby players. Our head of women's rugby in Poppy is a former England senior international and a current Chiefs player. So we're really tied up again with Exeter Chiefs on that women's pathway support. Again, very similar team. We have Poppy, who's our head of women's rugby, and Keith that oversees the delivery of that programme. But as you can see, we have an official partnership with Chiefs that offers coach sessions by the Chiefs programme every year. Also opportunities to train with the women's Chiefs team, who also come up and train on our facility as well. Our schedules are aligned to ensure that anybody who is selected either full-time or part-time to the Women's Chiefs programme are able to take part in both that and playing here and also achieving their academics. Also support services are aligned, so if you're more full-time with Exeter Women's Chiefs, some of your services will be delivered by them, but most of the services will be delivered by us, who are also Exeter Chiefs members of staff. So example, Dom Thorne is head of S&C for Exeter Chiefs Women, also delivers our S&C. So our programmes are extremely aligned on that kind of Premiership front. Discuss sports scholarships. So the funding that we offer from a sport perspective, sports scholarships are not based off academic merit, they are based on your sporting merit. One thing to note with sports scholarships is that if you attain, say, the Global Excellence Scholarship, that does not impact your ability to get a sporting scholarship. So if you get an academic scholarship, you will still be entitled to a sporting scholarship too. Sports scholarships offer up to £3,000 financial support every year towards your sporting development. There's an intense level of or greater level of athlete lifestyle support on a one-to-one basis as opposed to a group basis that you might get in a workshop as a team. But we also offer individual sports mentoring. So the sports mentoring is you're assigned an individual from the performance team, and we are there to basically manage your commitments. So if you are a high-level rugby player playing relatively competitive rugby every week that takes up a lot of your schedule, we'll support you in managing that schedule. The support package in total is worth up to about £3,500, so it's a very large offering. The up to £3,000 financial support comes in term repayments, and that doesn't go towards your fees. That goes directly to you for your sporting development to cover the costs of, say, travel. So if you're a South African National League or even international age group rugby player, you're going to have costs to be able to go back to South Africa. So that's what that cost is there for, to support those demands. Minimum criteria we look to at the moment is international representation of age group under 19 upwards. So to be considered for a men's rugby scholarship, you either need to be an international athlete or part of the Premiership pathway with Chiefs. And our Director of Rugby, Keith Fleming, has final say on all of those. We also offer some bursary opportunities. So if you're a netballer and you compete in Super League, or if you're in the National Premier League for those Super League franchises, we might be able to subsidise your costs to those commitments. Applications for scholarships for sport go through the Direct Sport website. You can also find the link on the funding database, which is on the Central University website. And the dates never change for our applications. So they open on the 31st of October. So if you're looking at September 2022 entry coming, they opened back in October, and they will close on the 31st of May. So example, if you're looking at September 2023 entry, they will open on the 31st of October 22 and close on the 31st of May 23. So it's the same timeline every year. You can apply before you get an offer or before you've applied. You can apply either side. It really doesn't matter. How can you get involved with sport? This just gives you a very quick understanding of what kind of little things we do. So if you're interested in any of the sports I've spoken about, please head to our website and complete the performance sport interest form. This form comes directly to me, and then we share your details with coaches, and I can also track your application through admissions and UCAS. So it makes it a lot easier. That's before you arrive. Some things you can do when you arrive. At the start of every year, we have something called Freshers Fair. At Freshers Fair, all of our 51 clubs are out, and that's where you can sign up for trials and tasters. Tasters are your opportunity to maybe go try something you've never done free of charge. And then a trial is, this is the team I want to play for. You go and trial, then you are selected to a team after that point. My details are there bottom right, so if you want to contact me specifically about sport or have more sport questions, you can get to me via the Sports Scholarships email address. But that is my chunk of the presentation done. I don't know if we had any questions that have come in.
Thank you, Matt. That was really good. I've got a list of questions here from the counsellors in terms of what parents have been asking us with Exeter in terms of the sport as well. So I'd like to go through those with you both. Just want to appreciate both your presentations, were really good. One of the questions that's come in on the chat box though is from Kudzai Maganda. Kudzai, thank you very much for your question. Matt, this is probably directed to you here, Taylor. Scholarships for graduate students is this question.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Kudzai, for that question, and thanks for patiently waiting for us to answer that live. Yeah, so I appreciate it. I talked a little bit about scholarships, but it was focused on undergraduate. However, there are a massive range of scholarships available for postgraduate students. So that's students looking to study a master's degree with Exeter. Now, the Global Excellence Scholarship is not just for undergraduates, it is also for postgraduates. And the scholarships available for postgrad students, for master's level students, are the same amounts in terms of the undergrad one. So for the Global Excellence Scholarship, either £5,000, £10,000, or a full tuition fee discount for that 1 year of study that your master's degree would be. So it's a significant amount of help there in terms of, let's say an average tuition fee for a master's degree at Exeter would be about £20,000. There are a really good number of those £10,000 scholarships. So that's immediately slashes your tuition fee in half. And again, a massive amount of those 5K scholarships. So again, a good chunk, to wipe a quarter of your tuition fees. Now, it's important to know actually that those are what we call the institutional scholarships. They're the ones whereby Exeter offer those. They're just from the university. And there are a huge range of other scholarships that you could look for. Every year, there's Commonwealth shared scholarships, there are Achieving scholarships, the British Council offer something called Great scholarships, and that's part of their sort of Great Britain sort of Study UK campaign. There are Fulbright awards. I mean, the place to look, and I'll put the webpage in the chat here, is our funding page. So that's exeter.ac.uk/funding. Which sounds like a very boring website, but actually it's incredibly useful. There's a search tool on there where you can just put in what level of study you're looking to go on to, which country you're from, a couple of very basic details to put in. And then it shows you, well, these are all the scholarships that are available to you from the university. It will also have, links on that webpage that will show you, which external scholarships might be available, the British Council ones, for example. Yeah, exactly. And so myself and George have both put in some useful links there into the chat. So refer to those. As I said in the presentation, there are, universities have pots of money to help international students for scholarships. And we recognize particularly, high academic merit. The Global Excellence scholarships are merit-based. So they're looking at your grades. So yeah, thanks, Kudzai, for that question. Hope that helps. Of course, if you look at that, you've got more questions, reach out to me via Global Education. They can help.
So just to have a bit of an update with that as well, in terms of your visa as well and going to the UK on the graduate, and then if you were able to get funding and scholarship, it kind of changes that process. So please do get in touch with us. We can have that dedicated conversation with you as part of the services that we do offer as well. Matt, I've got a question for you here. And this one's more related to rugby. And so in South Africa, there's like some really impressive rugby schools, and we're sort of nurturing the understanding of studying in the UK. What's it really like for a player to go to the UK and play rugby at Exeter? Do they sort of do the application, and then you guys assess which team they're going to sort of start with, and then that coach kind of gets involved? What does it really look like on the ground, if you don't mind going into that?
Yeah, of course. So I think the first thing I always like to note when it comes to any sport, any team that you get selected into, we want you to do your best with us. But for us, the number one thing is you get a good degree. That's why you're at Exeter. So getting a good degree and a good grade from that is our number one priority in sport, which sounds a bit backwards considering we're sport and we want you to play for us, but actually we want you to get a good degree first. Secondly, we put you into a good team and make sure you play good sport. So for rugby, for example, anybody who's interested in playing in one of our Bucks teams, which is one of those 9 teams that play every Wednesday, we invite you to pre-season. Now, obviously, pre-season starts earlier than your course day, which can throw up a couple of kind of visa questions. So that can be dealt with on a different basis. But we offer anybody the opportunity to come join pre-season. You stay with our current students and you play rugby probably 5 out of 7 days a week, which is a lot of rugby. And in that time period, our leadership team or coaching setup for rugby will make selections through that stage, and then our final selections have to be done by the end of September, maybe even the start of September. So by that point you'll know which team you're going to go into. So the selections are made by our director of rugby, and then our assistant coach Rich, and then Tony Epp, who I mentioned, Hayden Thomas, all of those coaches that we have make those selections. So you'll attend trials in that pre-season, which can take quite a long time, but it's probably the best time that our rugby players have, because you have no academics going on by that point. So in pre-season, you get to be in Exeter, you get to be on the campus, but you're doing no academics, you're just doing sport. So you get to make friends, learn Exeter, find out what Exeter's like whilst just playing rugby, which really settles you into then starting your academics in September, October time. And then from that point, you're selected into your team, and then we go straight into season. So coaches are at every session, so every session is coached. Our director of rugby, Keith, and Rich, our assistant coach, attend every session. So you will have usually a forward and a backs coach at every training session. So for men's rugby, they train on Monday nights. They have team run on a Tuesday night. You have a match on a Wednesday, and then you have training again on a Thursday, more of a recovery day from the Wednesday. You'll have another small group session on a Friday, which usually is a bit of a pre-stim, what we call, ready for your match again on the weekend. So it's quite a heavy week, but then that's the same week that runs throughout the whole term. We get to end of term 1. You stay in your team. There's no kind of, or very little chipping and changing which team you're in. You're selected to that team, you stay in that team. Your schedule then might change slightly in term 2, but from more of an S&C perspective. Most of your training times stay the exact same on a Monday night, a Tuesday night, a Thursday, and a small one on a Friday. Again, the same for term 2, and then the season usually finishes around this time of year. So our men's first team, I was actually chatting with Taylor beforehand, made the Bucks Super Rugby Championship final yesterday. They knocked out Cardiff Met and will face Durham in the final at Worcester's Six-Way Stadium. So they're the only team that's still now going, because Bucks Super Rugby goes on a little bit longer. So you'll find your sporting season usually finishes around the end of March, the start of April.
Great. It definitely paints a picture of what it looks like. And I think a lot of parents listening on that kind of will get a little bit more confidence in knowing that it's, very controlled, and it's got that coaching support service, just thrown into the deep end and told to.
Yeah, I think one thing you'll find with rugby, especially men's rugby, like I said in the presentation, we have Chiefs players who come and coach. So, and usually that forward and that back are one of the Premiership players. So if we want to name drop, we've had people like Luke Cowan-Dickey, Johnny Hill, Henry Slade. Those are all kind of our England players. They come in and coach our players. Another big name that we love to push is Sam Skinner. He's been at Chiefs for a long time now. He's actually moving up to Edinburgh to play for Edinburgh. But he did a business school degree with us, got a first in it, has gone on to get 50-odd caps for Scotland and play however many hundreds of caps for Chiefs. So he's somebody who also comes in regularly and coaches, and it's great to have those people come in and coach you who have done that pathway.
No, brilliant. Matt, I've got a question for you. Sorry, Taylor, I've got a question for you here. I keep mixing up the names, guys. Apologies for that.
No worries.
Not to worry.
Taylor, in terms of the application process to Exeter, what are some of the things, and we know that grades and requirements are really important, but what are some of the things you would tell to a student to prepare for or kind of differentiate themselves from other applicants? Is it the personal statement? Is it the way they package it all together? What's some of the advice that you would give to a student looking at that?
Yeah, thanks, George. And I mean, you're right to say actually that grades are important. And just to be clear, my best piece of advice is, to be very transparent about it. The better your grades, the better the chance you have of enrolling. Now, that's not to say that all other aspects of the application don't matter, because they do, absolutely. And one of the key aspects, of course, of the application is the personal statements. Now, this is crucial for most subjects, in that they'll be read by admissions tutors. Admissions tutors are academic staff members from the particular department to which a student applies. And a great piece of advice I had from an academic once about the personal statement, when I was asking them exactly this question, what do they want from students? And what we would encourage and ask that students do in that personal statement is highlight and evidence something in there to tell us about something that they didn't need to have done, right? What is it that you've done as a student applying to university? What is it that you've done that you didn't need to do? So not that you've attended every class in the year, those are the sorts of things that we would expect, and that you've been academically engaged. But have you done something outside of your course that demonstrates to the university that you're not just academically interested in this subject, but you're personally interested as well? You might be thinking, well, tell us an example. What could I do? One really popular thing at the moment, which an increasing number of students will look to do, is what's called a Mooc, for example, and that's MOOC, Massive Open Online Course. Okay, and many of these are free, and you can Google these. A lot of them are run by Ivy League US universities, and what they are courses in a particular area, a particular research interest, that advance your skill sets that you'll need to use at university. Critical thinking, analytical skills, evaluating and understanding things, and reporting back on findings, for example. You could do a Mooc, and it might take you a couple of months, and there'll be a time commitment to that, but it won't cost you any money. So this demonstrates to the university, I'm interested in it. Here's how I can show that I'm engaged and interested in the subject. But once you complete those courses, you need to then talk about that in your personal statement, not just saying, oh, by the way, I did a Mooc, I've done something. Well, why did you do it? And what skills did you get from that Mooc? And how will those skills help you at university? How does that map on to what we're looking for at a university level? I mentioned some of those transferable skills, critical thinking, analysing, all of those. Those are the skills that we want to hear you talk about in your personal statement. And really, the personal statement is your opportunity, often as the only piece of written work that a university will see from you, your opportunity to show the admissions tutors who'll be reading it what knowledge you have about this subject you're applying to, what understanding do you have about this subject, and also, why do you want to keep reading it for the next at least 3 years? Why, and how can you evidence that? That's what we're looking for, on top of course, an academically astute student who's looking to get involved in university life. Matt has brilliantly told us about the sporting offer at Exeter. Outside of sporting, there's a number of extracurricular clubs, etc., that students can join. Every subject has its own society, for example. Can you demonstrate in the personal statement that you're willing to get involved in the student life, and not just add value to yourselves in terms of your experience at Exeter, but to the university? Anyone joining and contributing to these things is helping the university achieve their goals. So that's what we want to see. I hope that makes sense.
No, definitely. I think there's really important information there, especially when it comes to statements, which are used across for that application. So I really do appreciate that. And there was a few little cool tricks that you gave in that presentation that I hope people were listening in on. So thank you very much for that. Matt, a question for you from kind of the sports side of things. A lot of parents, concerned with sports, especially with the likes of rugby and football, athletics being so competitive, especially in the United Kingdom, and goals of becoming a professional athlete. You mentioned at the start that it's first academic, then sport. what happens once they graduate and they've sort of done really well at sports? Are there added services that sort of help students to sort of find work or get to that professional level? What are the types of things that Exeter do like that? If there isn't, we'd love to know that.
Yeah, so there's a few things we do from a performance sport perspective to support athletes going to the next stage, if that's professional in sport or professional out of sport. So specific to rugby, we've got the highest statistic turnover of Super Rugby player into professional contract. So our director of rugby, Keith Fleming, is very well connected with every Premiership club, firstly with their academy, so those coming in from academies, but also then those looking to try find a pro contract. So firstly, obviously the big partner that we have is Chiefs. So from a rugby perspective, we have a huge turnover of those who are current full-time pro contract players going on to then either get signed by Chiefs or be part of their setup. But our rugby coaches manage those conversations specifically. There's lots of kind of agents who come to ask them to support you. Actually, our coaches who have those contacts can actually have conversations for you and advise on next best steps to take if that's the career you want to go down. What we have is a very large alumni that come out of sport, which is fantastic. Now, what you'll find with alumni are previous students here who have gone off and now in the world of either sport or profession. We're really, really well connected with our alumni. So, for example, for hockey, we have masses of alumni who are at all the big London hockey clubs, so Wimbledon, East Grinstead, an abundance, and they're able to help connect you to those clubs. So when you graduate and you want to maybe move out of Exeter and go somewhere else in the UK, you're able to speak with those individuals who can set you up with the coaches there and talk about what opportunities you may have. So we now have maybe 3 or 4 at Wimbledon who graduated last year. One of them, Duncan Scott, has gone on to play for Senior England and is hopefully just getting a GB senior contract, and he's now playing with Wimbledon in the Premier League. So we're really well connected with these top-end clubs on every front. From a generic perspective, more professional into work, like I said, we put loads of emphasis on enhancing your CV, using the transferable skills you learn in training with your teammates on the pitch and putting those into a CV. We also give you access to a platform called Advictor. Advictor looks at as an employment platform solely looking at you from a sport perspective. So as a sports student at uni, what of those transferable skills have you learned and how do they make you employable to some of those big blue chip companies that Taylor was on about earlier, big banking institutions, JP Morgan, for example, who we're well connected with. So that platform offers specific kind of placement opportunities, graduate jobs, summer temp jobs, that you build. It's a bit like LinkedIn. You build a whole CV, but you build the CV solely around you as a sports student. That's the key focus, and then other stuff you've done are added into it. So there's lots that we do in the direct sport perspective of how do we support people into, if they're good enough to go to a Premiership club, how do we support them to that? But also, if you just want to be, you want to go full-time professional working in employment, and then maybe do sport on the side as maybe a part-time thing, we help with both of those.
Between the two of you, you're dropping some real sort of tricks here and treats for people. I hope they're really taking those points and writing them down. For people listening in, and this is going to be recorded and reshared, and we will share the information that both gentlemen have mentioned as well. It's probably a great way to segue to networking. And it's one of the things that we are pushing a lot of our students to really get involved with once they get to their destinations, is get involved with community services, the networking side, whether it's sports, the after drink sessions after a game and things like that. Taylor, a lot of students that we've kind of sent over the years always talk about a certain area next to where like it's all the pubs and the bars, and it's very sort of student centric in that. But they always talk about the networking aspects of it. Is as Matt mentioned, the networking and the alumni. Has that been part of Exeter from its inception, or did that kind of grow as it kind of grew as a university?
Yeah, it's an important point as well, isn't it? It's not just academic life at university that is important. Universities in many ways are all about, starting to build your future, not just by getting the degree at the end of it, but I think it depends really how much a student puts in as to how much they get out of university. In Exeter, obviously a great place to make not just friends, but also connections and professional networks is, socializing with your course mates, with mates from your academic societies or indeed your sports clubs, whether that be on a Wednesday afternoon or evening after your sports games, or after training, or on a weekend, down by the quayside in Exeter, or just in the high street where there's a number of student bars and clubs, etc. Those places, yes, are important for the social aspect of university, and this is true of all universities. But Exeter, that should really start from the first day you get to Exeter. One of my regrets from a personal level at university is I didn't join a society or a sports club until the third year. No, I really wish I joined earlier than that, because the value that just joining that network of friends in water polo gave me was ongoing and has been huge. Just to meet like-minded people, often studying a different degree program to what you are, and sharing ideas and bouncing off each other and finding out what drives them. That can all help. I think Exeter, that's important. It's important at all universities. But as Matt sort of alluded to earlier, nearly over half of students are involved in some kind of sports club, for example, or certainly maybe more than that involved in some kind of society itself. Matt, I don't know if you have anything to sort of add on that from maybe a specific sports perspective.
As soon as that question came up, I had two people that came into mind who do a little bit more than beyond of what just studying is. So a great example, very relevant to this, called John Turner, one of our first team cricketers from South Africa. He is a first team cricketer. He's part of the first county set up at Hampshire, so he plays the highest level of cricket in the UK. But he's also a member of the South African Society here, and he recently met the High Commissioner when they visited. So being part of that society, he's getting to network with some of the most important people for South Africa in the UK, which is opening up huge doors for him. Being part of one of our scholars, he's aligned to a donor, so an alumni. So he meets that alumni once a term. And then he gets to kind of pick their brains about, well, what have they done to get to the point in life they are through business and things they've done. So they get to tap into some real knowledge of people who've done that pathway. Another person that comes into mind who I've worked with on a one-to-one basis is one of our men's rugby scholars, who's our current number 9, player of the match yesterday after our semi-final win, Will Yarnell. He was aligned to somebody who works in business in the city in London. And as opposed to just kind of sending a report to them once a term, he actually has had a couple of meetings with that person and kind of used that opportunity to pick their brains. They're an alumni. They went through the process of Exeter, and now they've got a very great job in the city and have done for 30 years. And he's had a couple of meetings with them of, what have you done to get to the stage you've got? What are the extra things on top of just studying and working have you done to be able to build your knowledge and your skills? And now Will has a much better understanding of what he needs to do to get to where he wants to go. So those are two great examples from sport of somebody who is a South African student, and also then somebody who's part of our rugby program about what they do to really advance themselves and make themselves stand out beyond just being an academic or just being a student.
Yeah, and it's my biggest regret with my career in university was not taking full advantage. So a lot of sentiments with what both of which were saying there. I really do appreciate it, and I think we're going to make a lot of parents happy knowing that it's up to the kids to really push, and they've got the support services there and do well in academics. Let's not forget that. Gents, last words. I'll let the two of you each one close out this webinar, and thank you both very much for giving us your time today. Really do appreciate it. To students and parents listening on this webinar, it will be recorded and reshared and distributed around the country in both South Africa and Zimbabwe. So please do click that button, click the barcode at the top there, and we'll see you soon. Leave it to you two to close out. Thanks, gents.
Thanks very much, George. Just to round off, say thanks everyone for joining, and if you're watching this back and you want to find out more about anything, reach out to me through Global Education. I can help out. I think there's a reason that, particularly for South Africa, there's a reason that Exeter is the most popular university in England for undergraduate South Africans. Our offer both academically and in terms of sport is very unique and is very strong. It's an important area for us. We want to work as closely with South Africa and Zimbabwe as we can to make sure that you guys can utilize opportunities with Exeter. I'll be out in South Africa and Zimbabwe with Global Education in May. So, come and meet with me, come and say hello, and we can pick up this conversation further. Thanks for having us again. Matt, over to you for any closing comments from you.
Yeah, I hope we've been able to give you a nice level of understanding about what Exeter offers. I don't think me and Taylor wouldn't do this job if we didn't think Exeter offered the best student experience and academic experience. I think if anybody has heard anything specific about sport that you're interested in, please complete that performance sport interest form. It's on our website under performance sport and scholarships. That's where you'll find all key detail about rugby or any of our other performance programs. I sadly won't be joining Taylor in May, which I was, but if you do have any questions about sport, me and Taylor communicate all the time, so do direct them to him and he'll be able to answer or get you in contact with me.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and I guess we'll sign off, George, is that right?
Thanks, guys. Have a good afternoon, and to everybody, see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Bye.